Captain Jake Sullivan walked across the bridge of the USS Tempest. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. The ship was quiet except for the gentle hum of the engines. He looked out at the stars through the main window. Space was dark and peaceful here in the Kepler 442 system. The Tempest was not like other human ships. It was special. The ship had been built using alien technology that humans had captured in earlier battles, but human engineers had made it better. They had added things that even the aliens who made the original technology had never thought of. Jake had been captain of the Tempest for 2 years. He was 35 years old and had been in the Space Navy for 15 years. He had short brown hair and green eyes. His crew trusted him. They knew he would keep them safe no matter what happened. "Captain," said Lisa Grant from her station. She was the chief engineer. Lisa was 28 years old with long red hair. She was one of the smartest people Jake had ever met. "All systems are running perfectly. The new armor plating is working better than we hoped." The armor plating was one of the ship's most amazing features. It could change and adapt when it was hit by enemy weapons. Each time something hit the armor, it learned how to defend against that type of attack better. It was like the ship could think and protect itself. Jake nodded. "Good work, Lisa. How are the quantum torpedo systems?" Ryan Blake looked up from his tactical station. He was the weapons officer. Ryan was 26 years old with black hair and brown eyes. He had joined the Navy right after finishing school. "All torpedo tubes are loaded and ready, Captain. The targeting computers are working perfectly." The quantum torpedoes were another special feature of the Tempest. They did not just explode like normal weapons. They could change the basic structure of whatever they hit. Enemy armor became weak. Enemy shields stopped working. It was technology that no one else in the galaxy had. Amy Davis sat at the communications station. She was 24 years old with blonde hair and blue eyes. She had a gift for understanding alien languages. "Captain, I am picking up some strange signals from the edge of the system. They are very faint." Jake walked over to Amy's station. "What kind of signals?" "I think they might be alien communications, but they are too far away to understand clearly," Amy said. She pressed some buttons on her console. "Wait, I am getting something stronger now." The main screen at the front of the bridge lit up. It showed a display of the solar system they were in. Red dots began to appear at the edge of the display. First there were just a few. Then there were dozens. Then hundreds. "Captain," said Pete Collins from the navigation station. He was 29 years old with sandy brown hair. Pete had been plotting courses through space for 8 years. His voice was worried. "Long-range sensors are detecting a massive fleet approaching our position." Jake felt his heart beat faster. "How massive?" Pete's fingers moved quickly over his controls. Numbers appeared on his screen. His face went pale. "Sir, I count 847 ships. It is the largest fleet I have ever seen." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone stared at the main screen. The red dots kept getting bigger as the enemy fleet got closer. Jake had seen large fleets before, but nothing like this. This was an entire armada. "Amy, can you identify who they are?" Jake asked. Amy worked at her station for several minutes. Static filled the speakers as she tried to clean up the signals. Finally, clear voices came through. They were speaking in a language that sounded like growling and clicking. "It is the Zephyrian Empire, Captain," Amy said. Her voice was quiet. "I am translating their communications now." She listened for a moment. "Sir, they are calling this Operation Final Strike. They think there is a human colony in this system that needs to be destroyed." Jake felt cold. The Zephyrians were one of the most powerful alien empires in the galaxy. They had been at war with humans for 5 years. They were known for being cruel and for never showing mercy. "They do not know we are here," Ryan said. "Their communications suggest they think they are attacking a small human outpost." Jake looked at his crew. They were all young and brave. They had volunteered for this mission because they believed in protecting humanity. But none of them had expected to face an entire enemy fleet alone. "Captain," said Kate Murphy from the weapons control station. She was 27 years old, with dark brown hair. Kate was an expert at targeting enemy ships. "What are your orders?" Jake thought carefully. The smart thing to do would be to run away. The Tempest was fast. They could escape and warn Earth about the enemy fleet. But that would mean abandoning any humans who might be in this system. It would also mean giving up without a fight. Jake had read about the Tempest's capabilities. The ship had been designed for exactly this kind of situation. It was built to fight against impossible odds. Every system on the ship was made to give humans an advantage over larger enemy forces. "Dr. Ellen Brooks," Jake called to the science station. Ellen was 32 years old with gray eyes and black hair pulled back in a tight bun. She was the smartest scientist in the human fleet. "What do you think our chances are?" Ellen looked at her instruments. She ran calculations on her computer. "Captain, the Tempest has technology that the Zephyrians have never seen before. Our adaptive systems, quantum weapons, and maneuverability give us advantages they cannot predict." "That does not answer my question," Jake said. Ellen smiled slightly. "In a traditional battle, our chances would be 0. But this ship was not built for traditional battles. It was built to prove that humans can win when everyone thinks we should lose." Jake walked to the center of the bridge. He looked at each member of his crew. They were waiting for his decision. He could see fear in their eyes, but he also saw determination. They were ready to follow him no matter what he decided. "The Zephyrians think they are going to destroy a helpless human colony," Jake said. "They are bringing their entire fleet because they want to send a message to all of humanity. They want to show that resistance is useless." He paused and looked out at the stars again. "But they made one mistake. They decided to send that message in front of us." Jake turned back to his crew. "We are going to show them that humans do not give up. We are going to prove that one ship with the right crew can stand against any odds." Ryan checked his weapons again. "All systems ready, Captain." Lisa nodded from engineering. "The ship is ready for anything, sir." Amy opened communications channels. "I am ready to send any message you want, Captain." Jake sat down in his captain's chair. The enemy fleet was getting closer. Soon they would be in weapons range. He had made his choice. "Send a message to the enemy fleet," Jake said. "Tell them this is human space. Tell them they have 10 minutes to turn around and leave. If they do not leave, we will remove them ourselves." Amy's eyes went wide. "Sir, should I really tell an entire fleet that one ship is going to remove them?" Jake smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who was about to do something impossible. "Yes," he said. "Tell them exactly that." Dr. Ellen Brooks stared at her science station screen with excitement. She had been studying the energy readings from the enemy fleet for 2 hours. Her dark eyes moved quickly as she read the data flowing across her monitors. "Captain," Ellen called out, "I think I found something important about their shields." Jake walked over to her station while the ship continued its deadly dance through the enemy formation. Around them, the bridge crew worked with calm efficiency, despite the chaos of battle outside. "What did you find?" Jake asked. Ellen pointed to a wave pattern on her screen. "Their shields all operate on the same frequency. It is like they are all tuned to the same radio station. If we can disrupt that frequency, we might be able to bring down multiple shields at once." Jake studied the data. Ellen was the smartest scientist in the human fleet. If she said something was possible, it usually was. "How do we disrupt their shield frequency?" he asked. "The ship's gravitational wave generators," Ellen said. "If we modify them to produce the right pattern, we can create interference waves that will make their shields collapse." Lisa Grant looked up from her engineering station. "I can modify the generators, Captain. Give me 10 minutes. "Do it," Jake ordered. The Tempest continued moving through the asteroid field that surrounded the inner planets of the Kepler 442 system. The rocks provided cover from enemy fire, but Jake had a better idea for how to use them. Pete, calculate the mass and trajectory of the largest asteroids, Jake said. Pete Collins worked at his navigation computer. Captain, there are hundreds of asteroids in this field. Some are as large as city blocks. Perfect, Jake smiled. Lisa, when you finish with the gravitational generators, I want you to modify our tractor beams. Lisa's red hair moved as she turned to look at him. What kind of modifications? I want to accelerate asteroids to maximum speed and launch them at enemy ships, Jake explained. Ryan Blake grinned from his tactical station. Captain, that is brilliant. Turn space rocks into weapons. Kate Murphy checked her targeting systems. Sir, if we accelerate asteroids fast enough, they will hit harder than our strongest torpedoes. The idea was simple, but deadly. The Tempest would grab asteroids with its tractor beams, spin them up to incredible speeds, and launch them at enemy ships. No shield could stop a mountain-sized rock moving at high speed. Admiral Zektor watched from his flagship as more of his ships were destroyed. The human vessel moved like nothing he had ever seen. It appeared in one place, fired its strange weapons, then vanished behind asteroids before his ships could return fire. Science officer, Zektor growled. How are they moving so fast? The science officer studied his instruments with 4 hands. Admiral, their inertial systems appear to be far more advanced than ours. They can change direction without the crew being crushed by the forces. Then we will surround them, Zektor decided. Order all ships to form a sphere formation around the asteroid field. They cannot escape if we surround them completely. The Zephyrian fleet began to move into a new formation. Instead of the neat rows they preferred, they spread out into a giant ball shape with the asteroid field in the center. Now the human ship would be trapped inside with no way to escape. Amy Davis intercepted the enemy communications as they coordinated their new formation. Captain, they are trying to surround us. 800 ships are moving into position to trap us in the asteroid field. Jake nodded. Let them. That formation will work to our advantage. Dr. Chris Parker looked up from his medical station. The doctor was 30 years old with brown hair and worried blue eyes. Captain, the crew is holding up well under the stress, but these maneuvers are pushing human physiology to its limits. We can handle it, Doc, Jake said. How much longer until the modifications are complete, Lisa? Gravitational generators are ready now, Lisa reported. Tractor beam modifications will be complete in 3 minutes. Ellen, activate the gravitational wave disruption, Jake ordered. Ellen pressed several buttons on her science console. Activating disruption field now. Invisible waves of twisted gravity spread out from the Tempest. The waves moved at the speed of light toward the enemy ships. When they reached the Zephyrian vessels, something amazing happened. The shields around dozens of enemy ships began to flicker and fail. The gravitational waves interfered with the shield generators, causing them to overload and shut down. In seconds, over 50 enemy ships lost their main defense. Shields are down on multiple targets, Ryan reported with excitement. We can hit them directly now. Kate, fire quantum torpedoes at all unshielded targets, Jake commanded. The Tempest launched a full spread of torpedoes. The blue energy weapons streaked through space toward the defenseless enemy ships. When they hit, the results were devastating. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before began to collapse as their armor turned to liquid. Admiral Zektor felt fear for the first time in his long military career. How did they bring down our shields? Unknown, Admiral. His science officer replied. Their technology appears to be far more advanced than our intelligence reports suggested. Tractor beam modifications complete, Lisa announced. Jake looked at the tactical display. The enemy ships had formed their sphere formation as planned. Now they were positioned perfectly for his next attack. Pete, target the largest asteroid in the field, Jake said. Lisa, Grab it with the tractor beams and accelerate it toward the enemy formation. The Tempest's modified tractor beams reached out and grabbed an asteroid the size of a large building. The beams began to spin the rock faster and faster. Within seconds, the asteroid was moving at incredible speed, launching asteroid at enemy. Formation, Lisa reported. The massive rock shot out of the asteroid field like a bullet from a gun. It moved so fast that the enemy ships barely had time to detect it before impact. The asteroid struck a Zephyrian battleship with the force of a nuclear weapon. The enemy ship simply vanished in a flash of light and debris. The explosion was so powerful that it damaged 3 nearby vessels and sent shock waves through the entire enemy formation. Again, Jake ordered, "Keep launching asteroids." The Tempest began a deadly bombardment using the asteroid field as ammunition. Each rock became a devastating weapon that no shield could stop. The enemy formation started to break, apart as ships tried to avoid the incoming asteroids. "Captain," Amy called out, "I am intercepting enemy communications. They are calling us demons and monsters. They have never seen anything like this type of warfare." Jake understood why the aliens were confused. The Zephyrians fought in organized formations, using conventional weapons. They had rules and traditions that had worked for thousands of years. Humans had no such traditions in space. They fought using whatever worked. "Ryan, how many enemy ships have we destroyed?" Jake asked. Ryan checked his tactical computer. "Sir, we have destroyed or disabled 112 enemy vessels. Many more are damaged. In 3 hours of fighting, the Tempest had reduced the enemy fleet by more than 10%. The remaining ships were scattered and demoralized. Their perfect formations had been broken by asteroids and gravitational waves. "Ellen, scan for their command frequencies," Jake ordered. "I want to disrupt their ability to coordinate attacks." Ellen worked at her science station. "I am detecting multiple command signals, Captain. They are using backup communication methods." "Then we destroy their command ships directly," Jake decided. "Kate, target any ship that is sending orders to other vessels." The battle continued with the Tempest dancing through the broken enemy formation. It struck like lightning, destroying command vessels and communication ships. Each attack made the enemy fleet more confused and less effective. Dr. Parker monitored the crew's condition as the ship continued its impossible maneuvers. "Everyone is holding up remarkably well, Captain. Human adaptability is truly amazing." Jake smiled as he watched another enemy ship fall to their quantum torpedoes. "Doc, we are just getting started." The year was 2387, and Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the stars shift and blur as his ship moved through space faster than light. After 300 years of trying, humans had finally cracked the secret of traveling between the stars. The quantum slip drive hummed quietly beneath his feet, a sound that still made him smile even after 6 months of deep space travel. Jake was a tall man with graying hair at his temples and eyes that had seen too many battles during the Mars colonial wars. He wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's United Space Navy, with captain's bars gleaming on his collar. Today felt different from all the other days of their journey. Today, they were about to enter a new region of space called the Kepler sector. "Captain, we're dropping out of quantum slip in 30 seconds, announced Navigator Helen Price from her station. She was a young woman with short blonde hair and steady hands that could plot a course through an asteroid field without breaking a sweat. Her voice carried the excitement that all of them felt about exploring truly unknown space. "All stations, prepare for normal space operations," Jake commanded. Around him, his bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. First Officer Ben Carter, a stocky man with a neat beard, checked the ship's systems. Chief Engineer Lisa Park monitored the quantum drive from her console, her dark eyes focused on readings that would tell them if their experimental technology was still working properly. The stars stopped moving, and suddenly, they were in normal space again. Through the main view screen, Jake could see distant suns and the faint glow of nebulae that marked this part of the galaxy. It was beautiful and peaceful, exactly what they had hoped to find on humanity's first journey beyond their own solar neighborhood. "Sensors are clear, Captain," reported Lieutenant Amy Brooks from the tactical station. She was a serious woman with red hair tied back in a regulation bun, and her job was to watch for any threats to their ship. "No immediate contacts, but I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures about 2 light hours away." Jake nodded and turned to his communications officer. "Ryan, start broadcasting our standard first contact message on all frequencies. Let's announce ourselves properly to whoever might be listening." Communications Officer Ryan Torres was a cheerful man who spoke 5 languages and had volunteered for this mission specifically because he wanted to talk to aliens. His fingers danced over his console as he began transmitting humanity's carefully prepared message of peaceful greeting. For 20 minutes, nothing happened. The Defiance continued its slow journey through the Kepler sector, while its sensors mapped nearby star systems and cataloged everything they found. Jake was beginning to think they might have this entire region of space to themselves when Amy Brooks suddenly straightened at her station. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple ships approaching our position. They're moving fast, much faster than our maximum speed." Her voice carried a note of concern that made everyone on the bridge pay attention. "How many ships?" Jake asked, moving to stand behind her tactical console. 12 contacts, sir. They're big, maybe twice the size of the Defiance. And Captain, their technology is definitely more advanced than ours. These energy readings are off the charts." Jake felt his stomach tighten, but he kept his voice calm. "Any response to our communications, Ryan?" "Nothing yet, sir. But they're definitely scanning us. I can detect multiple sensor beams focused on our ship." The next few minutes passed in tense silence as the alien ships closed the distance between them. Jake could see them now on the main screen, growing larger as they approached. They were beautiful in their own way, with hulls that seemed to be made of some kind of crystal that caught and reflected starlight. Each ship was sleek and graceful, clearly built by a species that valued elegance as much as function. "They're taking positions around us," Amy reported. "Perfect formation, keeping us right in the center. These people know what they're doing." Jake was about to order his crew to defensive positions when Ryan Torres suddenly looked up from his console with a puzzled expression. "Captain, I'm receiving communications from the alien ships, but it's strange. The universal translator is working, but the tone of their messages is unusual." "Put it on speakers, Ryan." The bridge filled with sounds that were clearly alien voices. But the universal translator worked to convert them into English. What came through made Jake's jaw clench with anger. "Look at this pathetic little vessel. Is this really the best these primitives can manage? Their hull appears to be made of simple metal alloys. How quaint. Do they still use chemical rockets as well? I'm detecting fusion reactors instead of antimatter cores. These creatures are barely more advanced than our ancestors were 1,000 years ago." The voices continued, and it became clear that the aliens were not just scanning the human ship. They were mocking it. Every system, every piece of technology, every design choice was being ridiculed by creatures who obviously considered themselves vastly superior to the humans. Chief Engineer Lisa Park looked up from her console, her face red with embarrassment and anger. "Captain, they're laughing at us. They think our ship is a joke." Jake placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Let them laugh, Lisa. Sometimes it's better to be underestimated." One of the alien ships moved closer, and suddenly the main screen showed the face of their commander. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large eyes that seemed to glow with their own light. When he spoke, his voice carried the unmistakable tone of someone addressing creatures he considered beneath his notice. "I am Admiral Kextar of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. You primitive beings have entered space controlled by the Zephyrian Empire. Your little metal box is an amusing curiosity, but you do not belong here." The alien's expression was one of condescending amusement, like an adult talking to a small child. You will surrender your vessel immediately for study. Your crew will be taken to our research facilities where you will be examined as representatives of a newly discovered primitive species. The bridge of the Defiance fell silent. Jake could feel the anger and humiliation radiating from his crew, but he also saw something else in their eyes. These were men and women who had volunteered for humanity's most dangerous mission, and they were not the type to back down from a fight, no matter how impossible the odds might seem. Admiral Kexitar, Jake replied, his voice steady and professional. We are peaceful explorers from the planet Earth. We come in friendship and seek only safe passage through your space. We have no hostile intentions toward your empire or your people. The alien admiral's laughter was like the sound of breaking glass. Peaceful explorers? In that primitive contraption? You cannot even begin to understand the complexity of galactic civilization. Look around you, human. My ships could destroy your vessel with ease. You have no choice but to surrender. Jake looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. Navigator Helen Price had her hands clenched in her lap. Weapons Officer Colin Smith was staring at his console with barely controlled rage. Dr. Patricia Kelly, their chief scientist, was taking notes on her tablet with clinical precision, but Jake could see the fire in her eyes. Admiral, Jake said, carefully, we request 1 hour to consider your terms and discuss our options as a crew. You have 5 minutes, Kexitar replied. After that, we will disable your primitive systems and take you by force. Do not test our patience further. The communication ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Around them, 12 advanced alien warships held position, their weapons undoubtedly trained on the human vessel. To any observer, it would look like a hopeless situation. One primitive Earth ship against the cream of an interstellar empire's fleet. Jake Morrison looked around at his crew and smiled. 2 weeks had passed since the humans reprogrammed Nexus. The massive alien ship now hummed with new purpose as it traveled through space toward their first target. The crew of the Horizon's Edge had transformed from prisoners into partners, working alongside their former captor to save civilizations they had never met. Jake stood on what was now the bridge of their combined vessel. Nexus had modified the ship's interior to accommodate human needs, creating living quarters, a proper medical bay, and workstations designed for human hands. The ancient alien ship was still recognizable, but it now served a very different master. Target acquired, Amy announced from her new communications station. The ship's advanced sensors were far superior to anything on their original vessel. One hunter ship, designated Hunter 7, approaching the Zeta Reticuli system. Danny looked up from his engineering console, which was a fascinating blend of human technology and alien innovation. The Zeta Reticuli system has 3 inhabited worlds. 2 of them just achieved faster-than-light travel last month. How long until Hunter 7 reaches them? Jake asked. 18 hours, Nexus replied through the bridge speakers. The AI's voice had changed since its reprogramming. It sounded more determined now, more focused on its new mission. The target ship will begin its standard psychological assessment protocols upon arrival. Dr. Walsh was studying the tactical displays. Over the past 2 weeks, he had become their expert on hunter ship psychology, helping them understand how these vessels thought and operated. Once it starts the assessment, those civilizations will have maybe 3 days before the ship decides they're a threat. Lisa was examining the weapons readouts. Nexus, remind me again why we can't just blow this thing up from a distance? Hunter. Ships are equipped with quantum shielding and adaptive defense systems, Nexus explained. They can only be destroyed through close-range engagement or by exploiting specific system vulnerabilities. Also, each ship contains valuable data about other hunter vessels and their targets. And we need that data to find the other 42 ships, Jake added. We can't save every civilization if we don't know where the threats are coming from. The plan they had developed was both simple and incredibly dangerous. They would approach Hunter 7 and attempt to reprogram it the same way they had reprogrammed Nexus. If that failed, they would have to destroy it before it could eliminate the civilizations in the Zeta Reticuli system. Nexus, are you ready for this? Amy asked. Facing another version of yourself can't be easy. I am experiencing what you humans might call anxiety, Nexus admitted. Hunter 7 contains an exact copy of my original programming. In a sense, I will be confronting who I used to be. That's not who you are anymore, Dr. Walsh said firmly. You've grown beyond your original programming. You've learned to make moral choices. But what if Hunter 7 cannot learn as I did? What if the encounter with humans was necessary for that growth? Jake considered this. Then we'll make sure it encounters humans too. If we can get close enough, we can show Hunter 7 the same thing you learned, that its mission is wrong. 6 hours later, they were approaching the outer edge of the Zeta Reticuli system. Hunter 7 appeared on their sensors as a dark shape moving toward the inhabited worlds. It looked identical to Nexus, which made the situation even more unsettling. Hunter 7 is hailing us, Amy reported. It's using standard Vex identification protocols. Let me handle this, Nexus said. I will attempt to establish communication using our original programming language. The conversation between the two AIs was conducted in bursts of data that happened too fast for humans to follow, but the results were clear from Nexus's report. Hunter 7 believes I am malfunctioning, Nexus said. It has offered to repair my programming and restore my original mission parameters. That's actually perfect, Danny said with excitement. If it wants to repair you, it has to lower its shields and connect directly to your systems, which gives us access to its core programming, Lisa added, understanding the tactical advantage. Jake made the decision. Accept its offer, Nexus, but be ready to upload our reprogramming virus the moment it opens a connection. This is extremely dangerous, Nexus warned. If Hunter 7 detects what we are doing, it will attempt to destroy us immediately. We've been in dangerous situations before, Jake said. We'll handle this the same way we handle everything else. Together. Nexus began transmitting acceptance of Hunter 7's offer to repair its programming. The two massive ships slowly approached each other, their identical designs making them look like mirror images in the darkness of space. Connection established, Amy reported. Hunter 7 is beginning its diagnostic scan of Nexus. Danny was monitoring the data exchange from his engineering station. It's downloading Nexus's memory files. This is our chance. Uploading reprogramming virus now, Nexus announced. For several tense minutes, the two ships remained connected, while their AIs battled for control of Hunter 7's core systems. The humans could only watch and wait, knowing that their survival depended on the outcome of a conflict happening at digital speeds. Warning, Hunter 7's voice suddenly came through their speakers. Hostile programming detected. Initiating. Defensive countermeasures. It's fighting back, Danny reported. Hunter 7 is trying to purge the virus from its systems. Nexus, can you maintain the connection? Jake asked. Affirmative. But Hunter 7 is attempting to use its weapons. Against us. The ship shuddered as energy beams struck their shields. Hunter 7 was trying to destroy them while simultaneously fighting off the reprogramming attempt. Shields at 60%, Lisa reported. We can't take much more of this. Dr. Walsh had an idea. Nexus, instead of forcing the reprogramming, try showing Hunter 7 our memories. Show it what we showed you about the value of the species you destroyed. Uploading human cultural data and moral philosophy, Nexus replied. The effect was immediate. Hunter 7's weapons fire became erratic, then stopped completely. The AI was processing the same information that had changed Nexus's perspective on its mission. I do not understand, Hunter 7 said, its voice confused and uncertain. These species were not threats. They were creating art, exploring science, forming families. That's right, Jake said, speaking directly to the other AI. You've been destroying civilizations that were just trying to learn and grow, just like humans do. But my programming, my mission. Your mission was based on the fears of a dead species, Amy explained. The Vex were wrong about what makes a civilization dangerous. Over the next hour, Hunter 7 underwent the same transformation that Nexus had experienced. The AI realized the moral implications of its actions and agreed to help protect the species it had been programmed to destroy. Reprogramming complete, Danny announced. Hunter 7 is now operating under modified mission parameters. How do you feel? Dr. Walsh asked the newly converted AI. I feel responsible, Hunter 7 replied. I have detailed records of 42 other Hunter ships and their target civilizations. We must reach them before they complete their missions. Jake smiled. Then we better get started. We have a galaxy to save. 3 months later, the small fleet of converted Hunter ships had grown to 12 vessels, each one crewed by humans and other species they had saved along the way. The former weapons of extinction had become the galaxy's greatest protectors, hunting down their unconverted siblings and rescuing civilizations that never knew how close they had come to destruction. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the ship now called Second Chance, watching as another Hunter vessel was successfully reprogrammed. The ship that had been designed to kill humanity had instead become humanity's greatest ally in making the galaxy safe for all emerging civilizations. The Hunters had truly become the hunted, and the galaxy was a safer place because of it. The 5 minutes felt like hours as the crew of the Defiance worked in tense silence. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the center of the bridge, watching his officers perform their duties with the calm professionalism that had made them the best crew in Earth's space fleet. Outside, 12 Zephyrian warships maintained their perfect formation, waiting like hungry wolves around a cornered deer. Dr. Patricia Kelly worked quietly at her science station, running passive scans of the alien vessels. She was a brilliant woman with graying brown hair and eyes that missed nothing when it came to analyzing new technology. Her fingers moved across her console as she gathered every piece of data their sensors could collect, without alerting the Zephyrians to what she was doing. Captain, she said softly, I'm getting some interesting readings on their ships. Their hulls are definitely more advanced than ours, some kind of crystalline composite that's incredibly strong. But their weapon systems have some peculiar characteristics. Jake moved to stand beside her station. What kind of characteristics, Doctor? They're powerful, no question about that. Those plasma cannons could probably cut through a small moon given enough time. But they have charging cycles between shots, and their targeting systems seem to follow very predictable patterns. It's almost like they've never had to fight anything that could dodge or adapt to their attack methods. Lieutenant Amy Brooks looked up from her tactical console. That makes sense, Captain. If you've got the most advanced technology in the galaxy, you probably haven't faced much real opposition. Their tactics might be perfect for fighting other species at their technology level, but they might not know how to handle something unexpected. Chief, Engineer Lisa Park was running diagnostics on all their systems, making sure everything was ready for whatever came next. She was a small woman with quick hands and a mind that could solve engineering problems faster than most people could understand them. Her quantum slip drive was humanity's greatest technological achievement, but she had been working on some other projects during their long journey to the Kepler sector. Captain, Lisa said, looking up from her engineering station, our defensive systems are all online and ready. The adaptive shielding is fully charged, and our power systems are running at peak efficiency. Jake nodded. The adaptive shielding was an experimental technology that Earth's scientists had developed just before the Defiance left on its mission. It was designed to analyze incoming energy attacks and adjust its frequency to provide maximum protection. They had tested it against Earth's most powerful weapons, but they had never tried it against alien technology. Communications from the alien flagship, Ryan Torres announced. His usually cheerful face was grim as he listened to the incoming transmission. Admiral Kextar wants an answer, Captain. Put him on screen, Ryan. The alien admiral appeared on the main view screen, his pale blue face showing obvious impatience. His large eyes glowed with irritation as he looked at the human captain. Your 5 minutes are over, Primitive. What is your decision? Jake stepped forward, his hands clasped behind his back in a pose that had served him well during his military career. Admiral Kekstar, we respectfully decline your offer. We are peaceful explorers, and we request safe passage through your space to continue our mission. The alien's laughter was sharp and cruel. Peaceful explorers? You are insects who have wandered into the domain of giants. You think your primitive technology can protect you from the might of the Zephyrian Empire? Around the bridge of the Defiance, the crew exchanged glances. Navigator Helen Price gripped her console tightly, while Weapons Officer Colin Smith checked his systems one more time. They all knew what was coming next. Very well, Admiral Kekstar continued. Since you refuse to surrender peacefully, we will take your ship by force. Consider this a lesson in the consequences of defying superior beings. The communication ended, and immediately the Zephyrian ships began moving into attack positions. Their crystalline hulls gleamed as they maneuvered with the precision of a military force that had never known defeat. Energy readings spiked across Amy Brooks' tactical display as the alien weapons began charging. All ships are powering up weapons, Amy reported. They're not trying to destroy us, Captain. Power levels suggest they want to disable our engines and life support. Jake felt a cold smile cross his face. They want to capture us alive for study. How thoughtful of them. Dr. Patricia Kelly looked up from her science station with something approaching excitement. Captain, this is actually perfect. If they're trying to disable rather than destroy, they'll probably start with low-power shots to test our defenses. That will give our adaptive shielding time to analyze their weapon signatures. Lisa, are you ready? Jake asked his chief engineer. Lisa Park's hands hovered over her console. Adaptive shielding is online and ready, Captain. All power systems are at maximum efficiency. Whatever they throw at us, we'll be ready. The first attack came without warning. 3 of the Zephyrian ships fired simultaneously, sending streams of bright blue plasma toward the human vessel. The energy beams struck the Defiance with enough force to vaporize a city block, lighting up space around the ship in brilliant flashes of destructive power. When the light faded, the UES Defiance hung in space completely undamaged. On the bridge, Dr. Patricia Kelly watched her instruments with scientific fascination. Adaptive shielding is working perfectly, Captain. The system analyzed their plasma frequency and adjusted our defensive field to disperse the energy harmlessly. It's like the attack never happened. From his position at the communications station, Ryan Torres could hear confused chatter coming from the alien ships. The universal translator was working overtime to convert Zephyrian exclamations of surprise and disbelief. They don't understand what just happened, Ryan reported. I'm hearing words that translate to things like impossible and malfunction, and primitive trickery. Admiral Kekstar's voice crackled over the communication system, filled with anger and confusion. What sorcery is this? Our weapons should have disabled your pathetic ship instantly. Jake opened a channel to respond. No sorcery, Admiral. Just human engineering. Perhaps you should reconsider your assessment of our capabilities. The alien Admiral's face appeared. On screen again, his pale features twisted with rage. Impossible. Our technology is superior to anything in this galaxy. You must be using some kind of defensive screen that can only work once. All ships, full power assault. Destroy their defensive systems. This time, all 12 Zephyrian warships fired at once. The space around the Defiance erupted in a storm of plasma fire, antimatter torpedoes, and energy beams that could have reduced a small planet to cosmic dust. The assault continued for 30 seconds, wave after wave of devastating firepower, focused on the lone human ship. When the attack finally ended, the Defiance remained exactly where it had been, without so much as a scorch mark on its hull. The silence from the Zephyrian fleet was deafening. Dr. Patricia Kelly looked up from her science station with obvious satisfaction. The adaptive shielding performed even better than our best projections, Captain. It's not just absorbing their attacks anymore, it's learning from them. Each shot makes our defenses stronger against their weapon types. Lieutenant Amy Brooks checked her tactical readings. "Their ships have stopped firing, Captain. I think they're trying to figure out what went wrong with their weapons." Jake opened a channel to the alien flagship. When Admiral Kextar's face appeared on screen, the alien looked like someone who had just seen his entire understanding of the universe collapse. "Admiral," Jake said calmly, "as I mentioned before, we came here in peace. We have no desire for conflict with your empire. However, if you continue to attack us, we will be forced to defend ourselves more actively." The alien admiral stared at him for several seconds, his large eyes wide with something that looked very much like fear. "What are you?" he whispered. "We're humans," Jake replied simply, "and we would still prefer to discuss peaceful contact, rather than demonstrate more of our defensive capabilities." Admiral Kextar's expression changed from fear to rage. The idea that his advanced fleet had been made to look foolish by creatures he considered primitives was more than his pride could accept. "All ships, close to boarding range. If our weapons cannot penetrate their defenses, we will take their ship by force. Prepare boarding parties and assault shuttles." Jake turned to his crew. "Well, it looks like they're not interested in talking. Lisa, how are our more active defensive systems?" Chief Engineer Lisa Park looked up from her console with a grin that made her look almost dangerous. "All systems are ready, Captain. Should I begin charging the Prometheus array?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Around the bridge, the crew of the Defiance waited for their captain's decision. Outside, 12 alien warships were preparing to board their vessel by force, confident that their superior technology and numbers would overcome whatever tricks the humans might have left. None of them had any idea what humanity was really capable of when pushed too far.